So UwU was pretty great. All right, so I got back from UwU 2023, and honestly, it was a pretty great convention. This is the second year of this convention. I actually almost went last year. They had a couple voice actors I was interested in last year, but I just ended up not doing it because this is an out-of-town convention for me. I'm not in the Phoenix Mesa area, so it's a little bit of a trek to get over there. But their lineup this year really had me convinced. Sort of last minute also. It was only within like the last month before it was coming out that I realized I kind of need to go to this. It had some amazing talent. It had AHSOKA, Vanessa Marshall, Steve Blum, Taylor Gray, which are all the voice cast for the Ghost Crew in Rebels. So it was kind of I kind of had to make it happen type of situation, and I'm really glad I did. There's very few complaints about this convention. For only being in second year, it really has its act together, and it's pulling in some really nice names for being relatively new. I will say its food district is something that really sets it apart. All kinds of different food. I actually ended up getting some masaladas, donuts there that were amazing. Actually, I spent more money on food there than I did any merch, which is kind of funny, but honestly, it's the first convention I've been to where food felt like sort of one of the focuses. I'd love to see it get expanded even more. The food district was really good. Yeah, definitely highlight, definitely recommend checking it out if you plan next year to go. So I did a little bit of walking about at this convention, just checking out the different booths and everything. There's still quite a bit of space in their venue, so there's definitely room for this convention to grow. I will say this seems like a very artist-friendly convention. For the general size of the convention, it had one of the most dense and variety artist alley I've ever seen. I don't know how they did in selling, but just in terms of how many there were, it was very cool to walk around and see everything. Um, didn't pick up anything from Artist Alley, but there was definitely things that tempted. The cosplay at this convention was also really nice. There was tons of cosplayers walking around as well as cosplay booths. I did a little bit of looking around, but that's usually not what I focus on at conventions. But it couldn't be ignored here. It was definitely a good place for people watching cosplay, watching, getting pictures with them. Everyone was friendly, and yeah, just it felt like a generally very friendly convention. I'm sure most of you know that I usually collect comics, and I was actually surprised to see that there were some comic vendors there, and some of them had some pretty decent books. One vendor actually had an ASM one that I was very tempted to work a deal out for. Had I realized there were going to be comic vendors there prior to getting there, I probably would have got myself a little more organized for something like that. Um, Again, I don't know how well they did, but just the fact that there were comic sellers there was great. And then you have the typical manga sellers and everything else there too. And believe it or not, I did actually buy something at this convention, and it was a comic. I ended up looking through one of the booths, and I found this right here. This is the Edge of Spider-Verse 2 character design variant, but this is the foreign Turkish variant. It was very affordable. I think I paid like $15 for it. So yeah, I did actually pick up a comic at an anime convention, so that was pretty cool to see. But I mean, other than that, I got about a whole bunch of signatures, so let me just get into that. All right, so signatures. For a con that's only in its second year, this convention had a pretty amazing lineup as far as celebrities and voice actors go. Whoever the showrunners are must have some good connections because to pull in the full cast just about of Rebels, at least the Ghost Crew, on your second year is impressive. And the great thing about this convention being relatively small is it was pretty easy to get their signatures, especially on Friday. Friday, I did most of my signatures, and I didn't really have to wait in lines as far as that goes, especially sort of later in the day Friday. I think the longest wait was like 5 people. that changed on Saturday, but if you were there for signatures, Friday was really the day to do it, as long as they were making an appearance on Friday. A couple of them weren't there on Friday, but yeah, let's just get into it. So like I said, the whole Rebels crew was there, and I went to pretty much all of them. We got Vanessa Marshall, Hera, Taylor Gray, Ezra, I believe it's Tia, Sabine, and Steve Blum, Zeb. They were all great. Vanessa's marker actually exploded when she initially signed it, but it was recovered enough that not a big deal. Tia was probably the most fun to actually talk to. I spoke to her for a few minutes, very, very friendly. The way I had my comic set up, I had it windowed and everything, and she just was complimenting how well organized it was, because a lot of times people just hand stuff and they have to kind of decide where they're signing. So she liked to see that. Steve Blum was really nice. He wrote Carablast on there for no extra charge. And yeah, it was just great. Because there weren't a lot of lines, there was a lot of interaction between the cast just sitting there talking to each other, which is always fun to see. It just felt very informal, but also like you didn't feel like you were imposing by stopping by and getting a signature. All around a really good experience. I think if it was busier, it would have been more formulaic and just down to business, but it was very casual. I had no complaints, and super, super glad to get all of these signatures on this one book. Just missing Freddie, who was supposed to be there, but he canceled last minute, which is something he does. But still, to get those four are there on one book. Very, very happy about this. Really, the main reason I went to this convention and decided to check it out was because of this lineup right here. That's not all I got signed. There were definitely other people there, and I got more signatures, so let's go and show those. Another one I got on Friday was Jim Cummings. For those of you who don't know Jim Cummings, he's voiced like 300 plus characters, including Winnie the Pooh for like the last 40, 35 years, something like that, and Tigger. And when I walked up to his booth, I was wearing a Star Wars shirt, a different one than this actually, but he was like, I wonder who you're here for, and he did the Winnie the Pooh voice, and I was like, no, that's not quite it, and he did Tigger's voice, and then he came out with the Hondo voice. Talked to me as Hondo for like a solid 30 seconds before he went back to just being Jim. But he signed it down here, wrote Hondo as well. Yeah, he was great. Second most expensive signer there. He was $75 a signature. I didn't mention on this one, but Hera was $60, Ezra was $60, Sabine was $60, and Zeb was $50, I believe. So, yeah. After Jim, I went and saw Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who voices Governor Price in Rebels. So I got this signed. Unfortunately, I had it signed in blue. I thought it was a darker blue initially, and then I was distracted talking to her when she was signing, so I didn't realize it. But she wrote for the Empire, signed it, and wrote Governor Price underneath it. And she only charged $30 for all of that. And I talked to her for quite a bit. She voice acts quite a few different things, as well as being a voice director, but she was a major guest in Critical Role, which I'm a big fan of. I actually have a tattoo of Critical Role, which I showed her, and upon doing so, she grabbed a print of her character from Critical Role and signed it to me for absolutely free. So that was really, really cool. We chatted, and yeah, just super great. Told her that she needs to talk to Powers B to get a Zara, which is this character comic made, because tons of Critical Role characters have comics right now, and she needs one. So yeah, that was really cool. She was super nice, and like I said, a free print signed by her just for being friendly and conversing with her. So that was really cool. Very happy to have met her. Yeah, just that. And then the last signature on Friday I got was from Dante Basco, who, if you don't know, is Rufio from the original Hook. He had an appearance in Rebels and Avatar: The Last Airbender. So he's in quite a few things, but I had him to sign this right here. We talked for, I want to say, a solid 5 minutes. He didn't have a line at the time, and he asked me about my tattoo, and my tattoo is actually archaeology related. So I kind of told him what I did, and he was enthralled with what I had to say, and we just talked. It was one of those experiences where I think he asked me more questions about me than I actually did of him, which is kind of a rare occurrence, I think. So it was a fun little exchange, just having a conversation. Um, he also made the remark that because this is Marvel Comics, there's probably a Marvel world out there where Rufio's running around, which he likes thinking that. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, that's all I got signed on Friday, and then Saturday I had two signatures I wanted to get from Sam Witwer and Johnny Young Bosch. Neither of them were there on Friday. Johnny's plane was delayed, and then Sam just wasn't arriving until Saturday. And Saturday, there were lines. I had to wait in lines for both of these. First, we got Sam's signature right down there. Wrote Sam Witwer and Mall on my Son Dathomir variant. I waited in line probably an hour and a half for him. But great experience. I was chatting with people in the line. Shout out to the people in front of me. You know who you are. It was good times. People watching all the cosplayers and whatnot, and encouraging him to spend way too much money because I'm a bad influence. But yeah, it was just great. He was there with his kid. One thing Sam was doing, I noticed, with all the little kids, he would ask them what their favorite character he voiced was, and then he'd have them close their eyes and do the voice, which was great. He's definitely there for the fans. Yeah, it was just all around great. Very friendly, happy to talk, and looks exactly like his pictures. Sometimes you get these banners of the guests, and they end up looking nothing like the picture. Because picture's like 10 years old, but he looks exactly like you think he would look. So yeah, really cool. And all these Star Wars folks, they did a panel which I'll talk about later. But it was just really fun. So yeah, there's that. And then the last signature I got was from Johnny Young Bosch. And I actually got this signed figure right here. He signed it, wrote Ichigo, which is the character's name. And JSA was there, so I actually had it JSA authenticated, which is nice. Not super expensive to do that. I think it was $10. So very cool. Got that authenticated. That was another fun line. It was kind of my line that I did my good deed for the convention. There were some kids in front of me, probably high school age. I overheard him talking. He said he was getting cold feet because he wanted to go meet Jim Cummings, but he didn't have money for his signature. $75 was too much for him. He didn't have any of that money, and he felt awkward going up to him. But he had written a letter for him, and he was just a huge fan and wanted to talk to him. And I kind of butted in and said, like, he doesn't have a line right now, and these people are here for the fans, so just go do it. Bite the bullet, talk to him. You wouldn't have written that letter or even showed up here if it didn't mean something to you. And he did, and I was glad to see that. I didn't get a chance to talk to them after the fact, but hopefully that went well for them. I don't know. I've been that timid nerd in the past, so sometimes I just need a little push. And yeah, it was fun to see. It was funny when I went to get this signed. He had a panel going on in a few minutes, and they're like, "All right, when the panel is time to go, we're going to give you all numbers, and you come back." And it was my turn. I was putting on the table, and he had to go to his panel. So I ended up being number one. I had to wait an hour and then come back. Luckily, I didn't have to wait in a line, but it just figures that I was the first one who had to wait even more. It ended up making him the longest wait, but just because there's that space between it. But yeah, again, pretty cool guy. I had met him once before at Tucson Comic Con several years ago, but I didn't get anything signed at that point. So glad to get this now. Bleach is one of those anime that I watched when I was younger and kind of nostalgic to me. So very glad to get that. But yeah, that's all as far as signatures go. Just a super, super good convention for signatures. And again, it being small, you had plenty of time with all of them. All of them were willing to talk. All of them were happy. None of them seemed like they were just autopilot there. They were all there for the fans. So yeah, good experience getting signatures. This convention had quite a few panels. One criticism for this particular convention is I think they need to allot more space to their panels. Every panel I sort of walked by or tried to get a look at was crowded with people standing on the outside of it listening in. That's actually what I had to do for the Star Wars Rebels panel, which was very, very, very glad to get to see that at all, honestly. With sort of the writer strike stuff going on, it was mostly a Q&A. But it was a great Q&A. All the actors were just fielding questions and talking, and yeah, Sam Witwer is definitely a fun person to just watch, honestly. Uh, Voice actor at heart. He revealed that A New Hope is actually his favorite Star Wars movie. Palpatine is his favorite villain. Um, some of the cast members made fun of him a little bit for him initially being like, "Well, I'm my favorite villain," which was always fun, just to see him poke at each other. It was honestly just kind of nice to see him talk kind of candidly. Vanessa Marshall did say that if she had any choice throughout her history of acting of someone in Star Wars to play, she would have loved to play Mara Jade, which is nice to see just general fans of Star Wars amongst the voice cast. But yeah, overall, it was just a great convention. It was definitely worth traveling over there to see everybody. Like I said, I wasn't sure at first because I'm not a local, but it's definitely worth a trip, especially if there are actors appearing that you are interested in. But even without, just I mean, the food district and the vendors alone made it a fun experience. Um, and the after parties at night were great. Uh, yeah, overall, zero complaints about this convention. I highly recommend it to anyone who's in the area. I know Mesa can be a little bit out of the way for some people, but it's worth the trip. Yeah, and who knows? Depending on who's announced for next year, I may go again because, like I said, I have zero complaints and it only has room to grow. Um, it has plenty of room to grow into its venue, which is kind of fun to see where it goes in the future. But yeah, that's everything. Uh, Definitely check out UwuCon in future years if you get the chance. And take care, everyone.